Imagine you're dating a person. Initially, you try to impress this person a lot, typically using exaggerated ideas about yourselves, how cool you are, the job you have, how much money you make, how popular you are with your friends, the family you come from, and the list goes on. In a few weeks or months, though, you realize that this other person might be way smarter than you are, might have a better job, might actually be appreciated by her juniors a lot, etc., etc. And that starts to pinch you. You thought you were the alpha in the relationship. You start to develop resentment towards this person. You start passing nasty comments about how her success is not really that relevant, how anyone can do that job that she does. You find happiness in finding small faults in her. That's basically your way of feeling good about yourself by putting her down. You secretly start hoping that she fails. The relationship has clearly become toxic, and we can all predict what's going to happen next. That is the nature of this emotional beast called envy. I'm sure you have all been on one of the sides of envy, either feeling jealous of somebody else's success or being the target of someone else's envy. Be it in school, about the marks we get, about the clothes people wear, to the romantic relationships we develop, the level of English, the accent, the color and tone of someone's skin, you name it. As we grow, it gets into what colleges we are going to get, the salary packages we are going to make. We start comparing our houses, the holidays we go to, so on. Social media makes it even worse. Somehow, everyone's life seems way better than ours. Envy is the pain that you feel from the good fortune of other people. We've all felt it. However, it is socially unacceptable to say it aloud. And one consequence of that is that it leaks in our actions, in the words we say, in the body language we display. Not only is it bad for our relationships, it's actually very injurious to our physical and mental health, both for the person who envies, but also for the person you envy. It's kind of smoking, it's bad for both the active and the passive smoker. So, where does envy come from? As humans, we have a natural tendency to ask ourselves how we are doing, who we are, where are we going, and one way to quickly assess that is to compare ourselves with people around us. After all, we are social beings, we live in tribes, so it's like climbing a ladder of success, and that is the painful part. Inevitably, there will be somebody around us on that ladder of life who is ahead of us. And the moment you see another person, you might feel that pinch. Why am I not there? Interestingly, people are much unhappier when a close friend succeeds than when a stranger does. So for example, Sachin Tendulkar, a star cricketer, is in the limelight. I don't feel the pain. In fact, it's the opposite. I feel proud. I bask in the glory of his success. I tell people, well, he's from my country, he's from my state, etc., etc. He's a stranger, and maybe cricket is not really my cup of tea. But when my dating partner or my sibling does better than me, that hurts. Strangers are an abstraction. Their achievements are just numbers. Successes of close friends are vivid and seem attainable to you. And that is the root cause of the issue. So how does our animal brain react when we encounter other people who are similar to us but doing way better than us? Typically, we will feel threatened and instinctively try to close the gap on that ladder. A quick, easy way to do that would be to pull the successful other back. You might gossip, you might belittle this person, diminish the achievements, say things like, well, she was lucky. She got the assignment because they played politics. We undermine them. We try to find external justifications for their successes instead of acknowledging to ourselves, maybe they were just very smart, maybe they're just very talented. Our fragile beings, our hearts, are capable of a lot of ways to avoid bruising our self-esteem, right? So envy doesn't have to be destructive though. In fact, that unwelcomed pang can actually signal an opportunity, an invitation to feel a sense of admiration and awe, in turn to be inspired by them. So for example, in my case of the ladder, instead of trying to put this other person down, what we could do is to find ways to go forward. How can I convert my hostile, negative envy into that force of motivation, force for good? The core of this is to build your own self-esteem. And let me give you 3 examples, 3 steps to do that. A, be your own cheerleader. We have grown to look for other people to validate our performance. If you're a YouTuber, you watch the likes. It's really seductive and addictive. But then there are trolls, obviously the ones that give you nasty comments, but then also ones who give you highly positive comments. They are equally your trolls because they are inflating your fragile ego. Both are not your well-wishers. And this phenomena starts young. As kids, we look to our parents for their appreciation. If they tell us, good job, we feel satisfied. If they tell us, what will you do after you grow up? Who's going to give you a job? We feel devastated. Parents can unknowingly become our biggest trolls. What good parenting needs to do is every time a kid comes and asks, how is it? How did I perform? Parents need to respond and say, well, if you are happy with it, it's good. If you did your best, it's best. They need to develop their own scale of satisfaction and worth. And that is what we need to train the kids. There is tons of advice out there on how you can build your self-confidence. Give yourself compliments, ask your friends to give you compliments, write down your strengths, reflect on them from time to time. All of that is great. And it really works. The danger is that it can add a sense of fakeness. We need to be real. We need to be human. We win, we lose. None of us are perfect. So being secure with oneself does not mean I know it all or I am the best. Instead, it needs to translate into the idea that I don't know this, but I can learn. I'm wrong, but I'm ready to grow. I'm sorry I made a mistake, and I'll improve. Just pure acceptance of who you are. B, ask for critical feedback from trusted people. If you are not getting that critical feedback, how will you improve? I tell my trusted friends and even sometimes my mother to look at my work, to read what I've written, to see my content, not because I'm seeking appreciation. Instead, I clearly tell them my goal is to answer the question, what could I do to make it better? And invariably, I get great tips from them. In fact, a good starting point is to reach out to the person you felt envious of. Give them a genuine word of appreciation. Understand from them how they have designed their success. What is it that you can learn and replicate from them? Make them your ally. In my example of the dating couple, if the envious person had sought the partner as an ally who he could learn from, he could have really gotten to greater heights. And C, and my last point for you is, your anchors are your values. One thing that can happen with the rapidly changing world is that we can begin to flow with all those around us. We start wanting what other friends are getting. We forget very quickly what we desire, what our goals are. So it is best to write down and keep a set of values, maybe 5, maybe 3, which will be your anchors and guideposts in this seductive world. So anytime you feel insecure about the superficial stuff like the looks or the accent of your English, tell yourself, it does not matter. This is how I am, and I am proud of my roots and my values. Unless we are living in a single person bubble, we will encounter people who are better than us. We ought to take these as moments of growth. Ultimately, it is not about having one up over another person. It's about becoming a best version of yourself in your lifetime.